You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast, East Central Indiana's favorite. This is episode number 141. I'm Jeremiah Morrell. Today I'm joined by co-host Dakota Davis and producer Chris Guffey.
That's right. Today's episode features Jeremiah's daddy-o, Paul Morrell, and Danny Lundy. Both of them are libertarians that have involvement with their local police departments. Paul is on the Rush County Sheriff's Merit Board. And Danny over here, he is on the Mooresville. Yep. Okay. Got it right.
That is correct.
I was stressing.
Mooresville, Marklettville, Middleton.
Yeah,
Nobody
you don't know
knows.
where Jeremiah's wife is from? That is sad. I thought you guys were friends.
I just knew Morgan County. You are on the Mooresville Police Commissioners Board, right?
That's correct.
And
the most affluent of any of the Morgan County communities. Let's be honest. Danny has no way to defend it.
Well, I'm just going to abstain, but maybe.
Come on, pick a fight with somebody.
I mean, Mooresville and Martinsville have always had a rivalry, you know.
Those artesian water people.
We're going to be talking to both of these fine gentlemen about how your local police departments work in small towns, in smaller rural counties across the state of Indiana, and figuring out the ins and outs of all of their processes in their respective areas. And then at the very end, we might touch on some City of Newcastle news. And tonight's the Christmas walk, and good things are happening in Newcastle. So we want to end on a positive note.
This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you. Other times we'll make you laugh. Hopefully you will always learn something new. What we're going to learn today, I think, is going to be how in the world these small town and local county, city, town police departments actually function and how they get to be there. You just think of, you see a police officer and you don't really think of, what's the authority? How do they get there? Are they, I was thinking about this as we planned the episode, and every single police officer that's not a state police officer is locally politically appointed. One way or another, there's a local political process. And even for somebody that's a state police officer, they're there because of politics as well. So every single person that carries a badge at one level or another, they're political, right? So no matter who they are, that's how they got there. And at the state or the county or the, non-federal level. And federal is political, but it's a little bit more convoluted.
If you look at a county sheriff, they're duly elected by the people, but it is, of course you're one of the many parties. But it's just, in county government, especially the sheriff's department, it's, you're elected by the people. It's, you're not appointed by any commission. You're not appointed or hired by the mayor.
People choose you to represent them on law enforcement. Before we get too far into it, we have some people we need to thank, and those are the people who support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/bosshogofliberty. You can sign up at any level that you want to. I think the official levels start at $5 a month, and you get all kinds of bonus content. We just recorded a really fun bonus episode with our two guests that we do every week. You also get access to all of our show notes, and depending on the tiers, we might send you some cool stuff in the mail. If you are over $50 a month, then we promise to give you a shout out at the start of every episode. Those folks are Chris Lamb, who's brand new. This is his second week. Christy Avery, Jonathan Phillips, who does have involvement with the Henry County Sheriff's Department, and then our
reserve deputy.
Yes, and then our favorite lawyer from Hawaii, Mr. Craig DeCasa. We also have our T-Chip stores going on right now. That is where you can buy all of your Boss Hog of Liberty merchandise, tchip.com/BHO01, 2 or 3. And then for the next 2 weeks, we still have hashtag Red for Rob T-shirts and sweatshirts going on for sale. And those, all of the money that we make from that campaign is donated to the Newcastle Career Center. specifically the welding program to help out our good friend Stephen Vidito, who is on here with Rob Kendall on that episode.
Who single-handedly debated Rob Kendall.
That's right.
For every teacher in the state of Indiana.
That's right.
Stephen took on Rob Kendall.
That's true.
The most hated man in Indiana politics.
We've made $90 off of that campaign so far for Stephen's program. $90. That can buy a lot of welding rods. Actually, I don't know what the going rate for welding rods is. It might just buy 2. I don't know. If it can only buy 2, then we really need your help, people.
You want a Red for Rob t-shirt.
I mean, tariffs, right?
Yeah. So let's get into talking about our guests here. Danny, actually, both of you guys, Danny and Paul, you're both the Libertarian Party chairmen for your respective counties. Danny, you are the party chairman for the Morgan County Libertarian Party. And you ran for the Brown Township Board in 2018, right?
I did. I got 1,399 votes because Jeremiah Morrell stole one.
Talking about stealing elections, I took one of your voters.
Yeah, like Bowser literally came right in, carried her off to Henry County.
Bowser.
Yeah.
John Bowser.
No, like Mario.
And then her parents followed me too. So
yeah.
Morgan County's down 3 and Henry County's up 3.
As I said in the Patreon, please recruit your own. Stop stealing mine.
But as we alluded to at the beginning of the show, you are one of the 3 police commissioners in the is it a city or a town?
So we're a town, and that's kind of one of the differences between a safety board and a police commission. Police commission is usually for a town, and then a safety board is usually reserved for someone of city status, right? So there's a little bit of a population difference and an organizational difference. Like we don't have a mayor, we just have a town council and things like that. So
you guys both are on boards. Dad, I'm going to call him Dad, but to you guys, he's Paul, right? He's my dad down here. First time. This is very different for me. I've had my brother on the show, but having Dad on, there's somebody with authority over me, and it's very off-putting, Dakota.
Well, this is about police. So
yes,
yeah.
So you're both appointed to these positions by either Danny. You were appointed by the town board,
town council,
and Paul, Dad, you were appointed by the. Your board's made up of 2 different sides. There are appointees from the sheriff, and there are appointees from the actual merit officers, correct?
Yeah, the Sheriff's Department Merit Board's made up of 5 individuals. There's 2 individuals that are elected by the deputies, and there are 3 Merit Board members that are also appointed by the sheriff. And it's a partisan board. The deputies would have to, 1 Republican, 1 Democrat, 1 Libertarian. The sheriff would normally have a couple of Republicans or a couple Democrats and a Republican, and I just happen to be probably the first Libertarian appointed to a Sheriff's Department Merit Board.
And the way this generally works is that the Indiana law says that you can't stack the deck for any one party. So you can't say, hey,
right,
we're a Republican community, so we're going to have 5 Republicans on this board. The way the law is set is you can't have any more than 60% generally, right?
It's usually 1 over majority, right? So like I only have a 3-person board, so 2 can be Republicans, which is predominantly what Morgan County is.
And 1 has to be something other than a Republican.
And I'm the other party, right? So
we're real quick here. You guys both being Libertarians and both being in leadership positions within the party. Libertarians don't have a very good reputation, especially on the internet world, for their relationship with police officers. Do you guys get any flack about that in your respective roles, or does it really not? Do you really not ever hear anything about it?
Well, I'm in my third year of a 4th-year term, and I'm now finishing my 2nd year as Merit Board President. So I like to think of myself as the adult in the room. And really, it's not as political as one would think. The politics leave, and they put the deputies first. The sheriff that appointed me said that the reason you're here is you're here to act as a between a rogue sheriff and the deputies, and that's the way I've looked at it since I've been appointed to the board.
Yeah, it's very similar on my end. I mean, I've not really had anybody complain from the Libertarian side, but I mean, honestly, do you want somebody there who's thinking outside the box, who's looking out for what's best for the people of Mooresville, the taxpayers? but also looking out for our police officers and making sure they have the equipment and stuff to do their job safely, while also taking care of our citizens and doing the right things, for our citizens, right? I mean, especially in a small town like Mooresville, our police officers, we're there to literally serve the community in a lot of ways, more so than, say, like in Indianapolis, where they're, protecting the community is the bigger issue, right? So one of the things I've enjoyed about being on the commission is when citizens send in and like, hey, this officer did an amazing thing. I get notified of that, right? And I get to read these awesome stories, about, we had an officer, a gentleman fell down, slipped on the ice, early in the year when I first came on the commission. This was one of the first, public things I got. And, he was injured and he stayed with the gentleman until the paramedics arrived. And then he drove to his wife's house and calmed her down, stayed with her while she called the families, everybody in the family, and she's in a panic, right? So he's keeping her calm and making sure everybody knows where they're supposed to go. And then I think he drove her to the hospital. So, I mean, in a small town like Mooresville, those are the kinds of officers and the kinds of things you want to see. And as a libertarian, that's what I want our officers doing, right? Is
Right.
actually out there serving the community and doing, just making the place better.
Yeah, I'd like to share a story of similar nature, just real quick. Last year, we had a fire in rural Rush County. And Rush County is about 400 square miles, and there's only 17,000 people that live there. Our sheriff's department is relatively small, and we have volunteer fire departments in several unincorporated areas. Well, there was a fire. One fella got out, and the lady didn't get out. She was a 92-year-old woman. And the deputies got there before the fire trucks did, and 5 deputies managed to pull her out of the fire.
Wow.
And that's what they do. I love reading letters that somebody submits to the merit board where, your deputy was so courteous when my car broke down, they did all the right things and they thank them. So, that's not uncommon. One of the joys in being in the merit board is, the hiring process, being able to ask deputies questions before they're hired in the sheriff's department. And to me, that's paramount. Cops get an awful bad rap, and if you can put cops out on the street that respect your civil rights and they put your rights in front of theirs, that's what you want. You want folks that respect other people's civil rights.
So let's talk about this hiring process a little bit. 2019 has been a really interesting year for small towns in Indiana and their police departments. I know Knightstown here has had some controversy with the town police chief being put on medical leave, and that became a political mess. My wife is asking if I've checked in for my flight. No, she's supposed to do it. Sarah's supposed to be in charge of the flight. We're flying to Denver this weekend, and she's asking if I've done it. No, that's why the reminder was set for her.
Hi, Sarah. We miss you in Morgan County.
And then Pendleton's had this massive football, and that a big part of the town board elections was over what police chief was going to be in place, and is the chief staying, is the chief going? The chief got suspended over some social media stuff this last year, and it made the news. Been really interesting. So Danny, you are now in the position where there's a departure. You've got a police chief that has left. And so can you walk us through the process of, hey, here's how we get to a point where you have a police chief, and then the police chief is responsible, I assume, for hiring and firing all of the rest of the officers in the
right. Well, so
in the department.
The general, if you think of it as terms of like the chief is the executive and the police commission is the legislative body of the police department. So the chief, we have for regular officers, they would go through an interview process. The chief would sign off on them. You do your background checks. You do all your due diligence, and then they bring them before the commission and say, "Hey, do you want to hire this guy?" Right. So we kind of have a check and balance, right, as the civilians to say, "Yeah, we want to hire that guy or not." Kind of to your point, it gives us a chance to see who's on the force and things like that. But with the chief's position, it's a little more different. We actually have to hire a chief, and then the town council approves it. So that's your check and balance there, right? Because we're kind of a middleman between the town council and the police department itself, right? And And normally these things in small towns are done with, hey, you know, I know that guy. We've known each other forever, so he's going to be the next chief. Or maybe sometimes it's just the next guy in line. In our case, actually, the captain resigned the same time the chief did.
Now you got all kinds of openings.
Yeah, we do. Mooresville Police Department is hiring if you have experience.
How much experience do you want? Because I mean,
more experience than you have, Jeremiah.
Dakota, I'm too old at this point. I'm 36. I know the Newcastle Fire Department's. I'm capped out. I'd be the oldest guy that they could take.
Yep. Yeah. What was it? Was it 36 or was it 35?
36.
Maybe if we hired Dakota, we could make him the
already
face of his apartment because he's just so pretty.
Dakota would be on your calendar.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
Maybe every month.
The fire department might be upset, actually.
What, that you didn't send him over there?
Yeah, maybe.
That we outdid their calendar.
Yeah, that's what I was going to. I don't think we actually do calendars. Please don't send me hate mail.
Maybe. I mean, if you did calendars, would you put somebody in your position on there? It'd be like Mr. November.
I don't think I'm prepared for calendar. I'd have to do a lot of working out to make a calendar.
I mean, like a 2021 calendar. It doesn't have to be for next year. It could be for the following.
I don't
year.
know.
You've got a year to get yourself in calendar shape, Danny.
We probably have some very handsome and good-looking people on our police force who could fill that calendar without me.
But you have 22 members on your police force.
Yeah,
Why don't any of them?
Ideally, when we're fully staffed, yes.
Okay. Why don't any of your current police officers want the job of the police chief?
JT Burns is trying to recruit me. He says 40 for the state police.
We actually had 4 internal applicants apply for the position. So,
you did?
Yeah. So what's different is instead of doing the normal thing, sorry, I got sidetracked because ADHD, but
it's easy.
It happens. So what we decided to do, and there's been a lot of morale issues and some turnover, and there's office politics is probably the best way to describe it. I'm sure we've all been in an office where somebody hates the boss, somebody loves the boss, and everybody fights about it. And what you have is you got Group A and Group C over here, and they're fighting all the time. And then most of the people in the department are in Group B.
They just want to do their damn job.
They just want to come in and do their job. Yeah, everybody shut up and let me do my job. So, it's not an awesome environment sometimes. So one of the things we wanted to do to kind of correct that was do an official hiring process, right? We wanted to do it the right way, right? Like I said, we wanted to take the politics out of it as much as we could. And do an impartial.
Famous last words.
Yeah, you ain't just loose on the Dixie. So no, we went out and we hired an HR firm. We worked with the town council to find an HR firm. They vetted them, and then we requested their services, and they came down and they helped us out. And said, okay, here's what the process is going to look like. They put together an actual job description, which we didn't even have. For a department head, seems a little off, but hopefully in the future, now that we've contracted their services, maybe they can do that for other departments as well.
They'll just resell your work.
Well, no, so that's just for the police chief, right? We have other department heads that probably need a proper job description. So they helped us put together an ad. They promoted it. We accepted applications. All the applications went straight to HR. So there's nobody on the police commission, nobody in the department right now saying, well, screw that guy and throwing his application in the trash. None of that stuff's happening, right? It all went through HR. It was very on the up and up. They called all the references. They do all the things that a normal private firm, HR firm would do. And they're just assisting us in doing this, right? So we met with them and we went over what our requirements were, what we're looking for in a police chief. I know one of my personal goals for a police chief that I stressed heavily to the HR firm was I want someone who develops talent. I want somebody who's going to come in and a rising tide raises all boats kind of situation and really make our department better. I mean, I'm not saying our department's bad now. It's a good department. There are a bunch of good people.
There's always room for improvement.
There's always room for an improvement. And I want somebody who comes in and it just makes our people better. And I want to go from a place that I believe the way I described it to him was I want to go to a place where we're losing officers because they're dissatisfied with our work environment to a place where we're losing officers because they're so qualified they're becoming chief somewhere else. And that's kind of my goal, right? That's where I want to get. And, we're kind of in the middle of this process now, so I can't talk about it too much. But, they came down, they conducted all the interviews, so all the questions are asked in a very professional manner. There's no tone. We're not putting our inflections or our opinions on it. They made it as impartial as possible.
Are an impartial third party that came in to conduct this hiring process.
That's correct.
On behalf of you.
And that's what we want, right? We want the most experienced, we want the most talented, and we want, the most based on character and things of that nature rather than my personal opinions or the town council's personal opinions. We want the best guy for the job. Right. And they've really aided us in doing that.
I've been checked into my flight. I got B group on Southwest, so middle of the plane.
Southwest.
Free bags. Bags fly free, baby.
I don't fly much, but I flew Southwest, and they play games and stuff on their flights, right?
It's entertaining.
They take the toilet paper and you pass it back, and you get that whole row gets like free drinks. I flew on American Airlines once, and it was like
smoking.
snooze fest.
Southwest is great.
Still has smoking. It's like just not your e-cigarettes that have lithium batteries.
It's like Tony Stark's airline, man. You got to go Southwest.
Oh. So
you have to bring your own.
I'm so sidetracked now.
With Southwest, you have to bring your own.
They don't actually have a pole in there. That's not what I meant.
You have to bring your own life vest in case the plane crashes, but it's going to be into a mountain anyway. We're flying to the Rockies. So.
I thought that was.
You'll be so drunk it won't matter.
I thought that was Allegiant.
Allegiant, you have to bring your own seat and your own. Allegiant, they'll charge you $10 for a soda.
No, your sodas are free if you get them.
You have to pay for your bag, don't you?
Yeah,
in your carry-on bag.
Well, you get
and they make one person put a vest on and push the plane back from the gate. I mean, it is the pilot checks you in at the window, right?
They still have a guy down there that starts the prop.
Starts the prop. Yeah.
This is your pilot speaking. We need 4 volunteers to help start the plane.
Grace
out of
Ferguson.
Messina sometime.
But guess
the
what?
same guy's punching your ticket that's flying the plane.
Yeah. But guess what?
What was that old Ray Stevens song, like Southern Air, where it's got like chickens and pigs and stuff on the plane?
Oh boy! All right,
sorry, you kids are too young for that. Sorry.
So
I'm familiar with the streak, sir, Grandpa, but that's all I know.
So, Paul, was there anything different talking about the hiring process that because as in your third year now, you've been a part of the hiring process a few times in Rush County. What main differences did you hear from what was going on in Mooresville?
We have gone through the hiring cycle several times. And we went through one cycle where not one candidate made it through.
Oh, wow.
And, it was either you didn't pass the written exam or you fell out in the physical fitness portion.
Maybe y'all are too aggressive. Are you asking too much?
Well, I mean, we've had the same problem in Mooresville. Right?
We buy a test. Yeah. And when you buy the test, it's, there's about 4 or 5 different versions of the same test. Some candidates, it's a difficult test. It's, a lot of the test is how the questions need to be answered, not how you should answer the questions. So, it's one of those tests.
Right.
Are you supposed to know how to study for it? Are there certain things you need? Like, do you need to have gone to the police academy before you take the test, or is it any John Doe off the street can take it and pass it?
Well, I'm not sure. I haven't taken the test. But our hiring process it's pretty lengthy. I mean, we'll put out a public notice, and then, you submit your resumes to the sheriff's department. We will go through the resumes, and then the resumes that we think are noteworthy, we will contact you and let you know when the written exam and the physical fitness portion is going to be. And if you make it through those, then the background checks start. And pretty extensive background checks.
Is that like you driving around the county checking up on them?
No, it's
going to go out and visit their farm.
Believe it or not, there's a lot of social media background goes into the checks, and our detectives are doing the.
Is that going to explode when you open it now?
I don't know. I'm going to open it real close to Dakota. Off cam. Yeah, Danny comes in, and there's. So Danny's been doing the Christmas walk, and he starts raiding the fridge, and there's like 7 Yinglings in the door. No. He goes to the Metazoa puppy slumber party that I
didn't know you guys had Yingling.
There's Yingling, yeah. Right. We can help.
Anyway,
but and then he just starts shaking up the cans off camera and throws them over here. So it's when we open them, it's going to get exciting.
What is the physical part of your test?
There's sit-ups, there's push-ups, there's a vertical leap.
I'm out.
And there's
running. Right?
There's
how many?
There's 2 different.
How many of each?
I don't have it.
It's like what about
it's within
it's
probably like 30 push-ups in 2 minutes. I think 45 sit-ups in 2 minutes.
No, it's more than that. It's not your.
Is it harder than Army, Chris?
It's
probably
different.
Not. Probably not.
But so I mean, there's usually departments that host those, right? And then we'll send our guys over because they're doing an agility test that day, right? Like, okay, we've scheduled it on this day. Usually, because we're in Mooresville, Plainfield's not that far away, and that's the law enforcement academy,
right?
So whenever Leah has their, oh, we're doing the agility test today. You just kind of send them and they do the whole thing. Right?
Yeah, we just go to the high school.
Yeah, and you get a pass.
And do you have
back from
to?
them.
Are there periodic check-ins with officers? Do they need to every 5 years? You need to at least you need to pass this test again. Or is that?
I don't think
not
that's
so
accurate.
much.
No, yeah.
Not so much.
So
That's how
real
you end
quick,
up with a Chief Wiggum, right? Like
the Indiana.
I'm thinking of
There should be,
a
maybe.
few that I know that in Rush County.
Well, that was my why I was questioning, because
Well, a lot of
I've
time
seen
that's-
some police officers that seem to be out of shape, but I've also seen some that are in incredible shape.
Yeah.
So Dakota,
I've just
now,
always been
a
curious.
lot of times that's for a new officer also. Do you guys do a lot of lateral transfers? I know that's one of the things we look for. A lateral transfer is somebody who's currently working as a police officer in another department, and then we can lateral transfer them, put them through our own internal training on like what we do, and they can hit the road much faster. So a lot of
sense.
times when
it's like a trade.
like any
a
other-
draft pick. Are there draft picks amongst
yeah,
towns?
Yeah, I'm trying to work our way onto the draft pick table right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what
So,
pick we're going to get for next year, but
look, Martinsville, we'll give you Bill, but you got to give me Tony and a third rounder next year.
Really, in a small county like Rush County, we're looking for longevity.
yeah, right.
And we don't have a lot of lateral transfers. There's not a lot of turnover. There's a turnover when somebody retires. We hope that our pay scale is of which will keep deputies. That's what our ultimate goal is. But we don't have. There are some folks that are on the department that have worked in other areas, but not many. My hearing aids are going again.
It's because these two started talking behind you.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
But I mean, ideally, that's the place we want to be too, is where Paul is at, right? Where we have officers who've just been on the department 5, 10, 20 years. And we don't have a lot of high turnover, right? I mean, one of the reasons why I think I was brought on is because we had something was going on in the police department. The Democrat that was in my chair before moved out of town. They had to fill the seat, and they're like, well, Danny likes fixing problems, I guess.
Danny keeps running for office. He'll give him this, and he'll keep
I only
busy
ran the
for a
one
while.
time, and honestly, it could have very well just been like, if we give him a really hard job, he will shut up and leave us alone. And if it goes south, we'll just blame. Yeah, if it goes south, we'll just blame the libertarian, right? Like,
Right. So what do you see in Mooresville that you think is something that's kind of unique to Mooresville, and like the struggles that you guys face as a police department, as the commissioners?
Well, I mean, I've only been on the almost a year, right? Like I just started in January. So the morale issues and the turnover rate and just I don't know, the knives out atmosphere, for lack of a better term. I mean, that's really the biggest challenge we've had. We did an employee survey, which is, I guess, unheard of in law enforcement. I actually got a ton of blowback for wanting to do one. And we did an employee survey that gave our officers a way to anonymously kind of tell the commission this is what's going on, because it was an environment where everybody was worried about saying anything for fear of reprisal, right? So, and again, it's just standard office politics, man. If you've ever worked in an office, like I said, where people love the boss, these people hate the boss, and everybody else is like, just shut up.
So often,
that's exactly what was going on. It's in a law enforcement, setting. Right?
Oftentimes when you see, and I've watched a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, so I understand. But
it's exactly like
just
that.
exactly like that. Oftentimes in these small town boards, it's the same mundane. It's not necessarily the good old boy thing, but it's, hey, this is what we've always done. We've had the same people. So you get into a routine, and then you say the knives out thing happens. It's because, well, now we got new board members and it's changing things. And all of a sudden, the intentional or not, different people come in, they have different ideas. And then for the first 6 months or year or 18 months of your term, there's no rhythm. And that's when people are like, oh my God, there's high alert.
You would think promoting from within would be easier, right? Like, well, that's the next guy in line, right? Or whatever. But a lot of times when you don't have a fair process like this, where you actually solicit all the things and you do the background checks and you do everything the right way, then you do end up with some people in the department going, well, I felt like so-and-so should have got it, or maybe I feel like I should have got it. And it's just a matter of time before that boils up to the surface. And you end up right back where we are now. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to implement a very different kind of process and take us in a very different kind of direction, which, to your point, this is not how we always do things. So I understand why a lot of people are They're not really sure what's going on. Maybe
change is uncomfortable.
Change is uncomfortable, but I feel like this is really necessary to kind of solve that problem. Even if we choose a guy from within, because we haven't made our decision yet, and it's going to be tough. The guys we interviewed are all very qualified.
So is that the biggest solution that you kind of see to this issue is developing an impartial process? Developing
an impartial process. It is such a good process. I mean, I have been impressed with it, and I hope Mooresville uses a process like this, even if they don't use HR. But I mean, honestly, I don't think it's that expensive to do this. And then we get the right person for the job, which is, as a libertarian, it's best for the taxpayers. It's best for the people. I mean, we're paying these guys, right? I mean, as any kind of employer in the private sector, you want to hire the best guy you can for the job, right?
Right.
I mean, why would we just go, well, that guy's good enough, right? Like, I mean, when you could get, if we can get better, then let's get better. But if that guy's the best guy that we can get, then cool, it's that guy.
That's a luxury that you have. Okay.
I mean, it could be because half the department left and we're filling holes. But yeah, I mean, it's new, it's different, and that's been the focus of a lot of what I've been doing for like the last 6 months. So I'm a little tied up in it.
So what do you think is
well, I mean, it's a full-time paid position. So
it's $50 a meeting. And as one of my fellow commissioners likes to say, man, this ain't worth $50 a meeting. I mean, I probably put in 100 hours a month working on this stuff. We don't do it for the money.
It's a passion thing. It's community service, really.
It's a community service, which is a lot like our police officers. We were talking earlier about all the great things they do. They don't do it for the money. You know what I mean? These guys go out there and they do it because they care about people and they just want to help. And, as libertarians, we talk about volunteerism, and being on the inside of the police department, you really see that these guys are going out into the community and making a difference, and they're not doing it to get rich.
Oh, they're not going to get rich.
I promise you they're not doing it to get rich, right?
Half the guys have a side business. They're mowing lawns on the side. They're doing security
working a second
somewhere.
job. Yeah, right.
They've got a wife that's a physician, or,
right.
I mean, it's you're
good work if you can get it.
Yeah, it's nice if your wife's paying the bills and you can just go play comp all day.
Dakota was promised that he was going to have a wife that was a physician. How's that working out, buddy?
We're a single income household.
And you owe me $50.
Let me guess, you got that promise before you got married, right?
No.
Okay. You got that promise after you got married?
Before we got married, her plan was to do something in the realm of physical therapy. But then she started taking like chemistry classes, fell in love
I'm going to be a doctor.
Fell in love with chemistry stuff. And that's post-doctor.
She was a scientist.
Did you guys buy an RV recently? Maybe an old one that you took all the furniture out of?
No. I did see a.
You can make a little money on the side.
I saw a 1988 listed for about $3,000, Dakota. Yeah. And you could reach a desert within 30 hours.
I mean, you wouldn't really have to meet a desert. I mean, well, maybe up here. I live in Morgan County. I don't.
We have the Indiana Dunes.
Yeah, well,
close enough.
It's the Indiana Dunes. Yeah.
So, what in general? So we talked about what was specific to Mooresville. Now, broadly speaking, what is a problem with towns and small cities like Newcastle and Mooresville? What is a problem that the vast majority of their police departments face?
Wow.
I know this wasn't on the show notes.
You would just, yeah. I don't know. I'm on the spot. I mean, honestly, in Morgan County and a lot of places in Indiana right now, the drug overdoses is a big problem. Domestic disputes are always a big problem, especially in rural areas, right? Both of those things are bad in rural areas. One of the things that came up during our sheriff's race and our we were talking about jails earlier, I think on the Patreon or before the show. Our jail commander in Morgan County has implemented kind of a rehab program for people who are in for any kind of drug offense. Before they get out, they go through a rehab program. And so far that's been very successful in helping them not reoffend. Right. And so I think looking at situations like that, there's actually a big controversy in Morgan County right now because somebody wants to put in a drug rehab facility, but it's maybe too close to a school. So people are freaking out and stuff. But I mean, honestly, the house they're looking to buy and turn into one looks like a Club Med. I think that's where the rich politicians are going to send their kids for drug rehab. But I mean, I don't know. I haven't actually researched the issue.
Are there rich politicians in Morgan County?
No, I think that's the point, right? Like the rich politicians from Marion County will send their kids down there so nobody knows.
Marion and Madison.
Yeah. Hamilton County.
So if you're a Patreon member, your questions go to the top of the list. John Phillips wants to know from Danny.
Oh boy.
Do you think morale would be down if the chief is not hired from within? do current officers maybe think that they don't have advancement opportunities inside of your department?
Well, I mean, currently we have advancement opportunities because the chief and the captain left. I think if we hire the right guy who can really bring our department together and really make us be a team again, and there's pros and cons to both of those. If we promote somebody from within, as long as they've gone through a proper process, I think that's potentially a very good thing. They've been vetted. That's why he's the guy. They accepted, they went through a proper application process, but also there's something to be said from bringing somebody in from the outside, right? Who has a fresh set of eyes, a different set of experience, who can look at everything objectively, right? So it's a discussion we're currently having.
Right. That's the job, right?
That is the job. And that's why people are so passionate about it. I mean, I get a lot of people telling me, hey, this is the right way to do things. We really appreciate it. I got a lot of people telling me horrible things and calling me names, and apparently I'm the good old boy now, by the way, as a libertarian. I am the good old boy now. We've officially made it, kids.
Welcome to the club.
That's a compliment.
Welcome to the club of being an establishment libertarian.
Yeah. But you did say that
I'm in the Tim McGuire club, we'll call it.
Big government libertarian.
You said that there were 4 applicants from inside the department.
Yeah,
correct?
I believe that was 4, and then I think we did have a 5th that's retired from our department.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there are people who are currently in the running.
I can't comment on that, but
I didn't think about that. But yeah.
But I think we would not have normally, if we'd gone and done this the way things had always been done, those people would not have applied. But because we told them we're going to conduct a fair and impartial process, there are people who put in for it who maybe normally would not have. And, it could just be they put in for it to see how the process was going to work because they want to know, what these candidates are going through, right? So I think it's great.
That's how you accidentally become chief, though. I'm going to apply just to see how the process goes. And
that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to dig all the way down and be like, that guy did not actually want it. Take him off and be like, you're in charge, buddy.
Good luck. So, Paul, we've been talking about towns and Mooresville. Let's talk about Rush County a little bit. What problems do you think are the largest that are facing your county?
Well, I think Danny touched on it's recidivism. It's you serve your time in a county jail and you walk out of the back door at midnight with some shower shoes on and the clothes you came in 6 months ago. And the first thing you're going to do is call the people that were the last ones you saw.
The last guys you were partying with when you got locked up. Right?
You got nothing. So, we are, we have, AA and NA meetings within the jail now. We've got pastors that come in and talk to folks. There's Brianna's Hope, and there's there's organizations that try to take folks under their wings and give them a second chance. We don't have a drug rehab in Rushville. Now I know there's a facility in Connorsville that we send some folks to, but recidivism is probably our number one issue. Now, if a deputy that goes in a call, a lot of times you touched on it a couple minutes ago. It's domestic disputes. We have 400 square miles in Rush County, and and sometimes there's 2 deputies on the road. And if it's after 5 o'clock, you're probably not going to see a conservation officer or a state trooper so you're very thin. So, that's one of the big issues that we have is just small towns, small counties.
Well, in your area, you might have 1 or 2 state police officers that are around, and then there's one small town that has their own town department, Carthage.
Carthage is incorporated, and also
Glenwood
maybe? Is.
Yeah, so you've got a couple of small communities, but there's not a whole lot of support, right?
That's true.
I mean, those guys,
Rushville, of course.
Well, in Rushville has their city, but
and Rushville and the county work fairly close together since they're the largest entity within the county.
So, you guys are building a new jail.
Yes.
Henry County's been looking for places to put guys. Can you be appointed lead negotiator and we can work something out?
Oh, beds for hire.
Because Henry County's been shipping people all the way up to St. Joe County at like $40 a night.
Yeah.
And I know that you guys have been working with Hancock County for like 37, and that's going to go away when their jail opens. So I'm wondering, if on behalf of Sheriff McCorkle and the commissioners, we could offer like $20 a night.
Well, I could have my people
Rush
get in
County.
touch with your people, and maybe we can work something
You say
out.
$40 a night?
$20 a night.
I mean, you
20.
said you're doing it for 40.
They're
right?
paying 40 now.
Yeah. You could just like weld the door shut at a Days Inn and do better, right?
I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I mean, you can't get out the window there. You know when you're going to open.
Unfortunately, we don't have a Days Inn anymore.
If only we had the Newcastle Motel.
I mean, double occupancy. You could,
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a king size. Just share.
Speaking of the new
two doubles.
Speaking
4.
of the new jail, is that something that you think would be that's an issue that you think every county, the sheriff's department, it's one of the main issues?
Yeah, the merit board really has not a lot to do with the jail. The merit board is responsible to
With
be
merit deputies.
a liaison between the sheriff and the merit deputies. But since I've been on the merit board, I've been privy to some discussions relative to the jail. We're forced to house a lot of folks that we didn't house before. The state basically gave them back and said, "Hey, they're your problem."
Right.
So it's created an issue in a lot of the county jails where over occupancy, for a lack of a better term.
Now, does Rush County? Do you guys have a reserve deputy program?
We
like
do.
We do here?
Yeah.
Do you know roughly how many guys you have on there?
It's probably 8 or 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would assume that they're as great of a help down in Rush County as what they are here. But do you have on the merit board? Do you guys have any hand in the hiring process for reserve deputies?
No, that's all done on the sheriff's department side.
Oh, okay.
So there's basically 3 different workforces inside of a sheriff's department, if not 4. You have your merit deputies, which are the paid out on the road outside of the jail officers.
Merit deputies, detectives,
Yeah.
and officers, yes.
And then you have the jail staff, which would be the jailers, the jail commander,
The jail commander,
and all of the staff that
subordinates.
works inside of there. Right. And then you may have a matron or some admin folks as well. And those 2 report directly to the sheriff. The sheriff's elected, and I would expect that he or she is responsible for those decisions. And then the ones that actually touch the public are the merit positions, and that's what the merit board is involved with.
That's correct.
Okay. So a little bit of inside baseball, but
yeah,
folks don't probably when we open the show, people don't really understand how, that police car that showed up out in front of your house, how they got there or where they came from. So, from we've talked about towns, we've talked about counties. The other big one that you see, and we talked about Rushville and Newcastle, Indianapolis, is a city police department.
Right.
And those are the chief is appointed by the mayor. Right. So you don't necessarily have a board for those positions. That is a truly political situation. One guy decides.
You still have a merit board in a city, and it operates much the same way yours does, I believe.
Well, for the chief position.
Yeah, for the chief position, that comes from the mayor. Right?
So with a sheriff in Indiana, a county has an election and they elect a sheriff. In a city, the mayor decides, hey, I'm going to keep the last person, or I'm going to appoint a new chief.
Right.
And then at that point, then they have the same process for a merit board.
Right, which we just had municipal elections this year, so I know there's a lot of new mayors taking over, and I'm hoping
not in Newcastle.
Well, I'm just saying I'm hoping to get this process done so that maybe the candidate we want doesn't get snacked up by some new mayor. That's a legitimate concern.
So that's a timeline issue.
If we were to go outside the department, I mean, that could be a potential concern where we call the guy and be like, hey, yeah, you're the guy, and he's like, well, I already accepted a better paying position somewhere else. Yeah,
I've moved to Lebanon or Brownsburg or somewhere.
So, Danny, what does a typical commissioner's board look like for you? Like the meeting. What is your typical meeting?
I don't know that I have any idea what a typical.
You've not been there long enough.
Everything has been chaos since I got there, right? So, some of the things we've talked about. I remember one meeting that the big thing was our towing policy. Right. So we also have to review the SOPs, the standard operating procedures for the department. And if there any changes are needed, we would approve those changes or make those changes. And the chief wanted to
15 minutes of free parking in Mooresville. Past that, it's my car.
Well, I mean, I think that was when we call for a tow truck, I believe the SOP, and I don't have my notes with me, but I think it currently states that you have 20 minutes to respond before we go to the next person. Right. And believe it or not, we got a lot of phone calls from cops, right? Like from the officers saying like, blah, 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 he wants to change because the chief wanted to change it to 30 minutes. Right. And of course, this is the outgoing chief. And, we had all this stuff going on in the department. So I don't know if they were just picking on that one issue to make it a bigger deal than it was.
So
but the officers really legitimately were like, no, I don't want to be sitting on the side of the road waiting on our tow truck for 30 minutes because especially during rush hour, right?
What I want to know.
That is a safety issue.
What I want to know is what determines what company you call.
Right. So it's on just a random rotation. I guess there's like 5 and then it's just like whoever's turn it is gets it. I think at the time I had talked about performance based. If you had the fastest response times last year, you get to be the top of the list. Again, I think if you're doing the best job, we would call you first. And, I was an account manager for 5 years where I managed a $10 million account doing HVAC stuff. And that's kind of how I felt about it. If one of my customers called with an HVAC unit down and they've got an emergency and you can't get there till tomorrow, but this other guy shows up in an hour every time, well, guess who's going to get most of my work, right? But anyway, with everything else going on, that's not really an issue we had time to discuss, but we ended up not changing that SOP. It was hotly contested, believe it or not, over towing times. And they had
small town politics.
Yeah, they had a legitimate complaint, right? I mean, I don't want to be on the side of the road for 30 minutes before I can even call the next guy. So, I mean, we opted just to not change the current policy. I guess we called around to some other departments and they don't even have a time frame before they go over to somebody else.
We just go for a neighbor's tractor.
Right. I mean, I think the point I was trying to make that didn't really seem to come across during that meeting was, I feel like the dispatchers and the officer on the scene know when to call the next tow truck.
You let them make the decision. You don't
right.
Have to
if it's 2:00 in the morning and there's no traffic and they, whatever, the tow truck gets here when it gets here and I don't have anything else to do, fine, they can wait. But if it's rush hour traffic and they need a car out of there and we called the next one on the rotation happens to be, well, we're 50 miles away. Yeah. Okay. Maybe call the next one. Right. Like I feel like, I feel like these guys are all intelligent enough and they know their job better than I do. I'm not going to tell them what to do. Just let them be adults and make the decision. But so I guess that might be what a normal meeting for us looks like. Is just we read the statistics for the month and we talk about the hiring process. At least every meeting I've been in, we've been trying to hire somebody. We've not been fully staffed the entire year that I've been there. So yeah, I don't actually know what a normal meeting. I heard they used to have like 5-10 minute meetings. Like they would come in and just like, okay, here's the stats. Everybody good? Okay, cool. We're going to go home. But that's not been the case since I've been there. Not anymore. Maybe I just like stirring stuff up. I don't know.
Yeah, it's this new guy that they brought on.
Freaking new guy. Damn libertarians.
What about you, Paul? What is your average merit board meeting look like?
We basically go through an agenda of old business, new business. We give the sheriff the opportunity to speak. We do a roundtable. We talk about vehicle reports. Are we anticipating buying any vehicles? Has anybody had any incidents with vehicles? The sheriff will go through arrests. He'll go through stops. He's got a whole litany of data that he goes through, which is good. It's interesting. But
that seems really transparent. Like a very transparent process for the sheriff to go through at the merit board meetings.
Well, it is. And it's refreshing. It's refreshing to see that. We're also a pension board. So,
So you do both.
Yeah. So we do both. We do both the pensions of the merit deputies and,
you get like 5% of their pension for doing that.
Yeah.
5% of the profits. Incentivize this thing.
Well, it's not really a Ponzi scheme. I'll tell you, it's there's not these guys. They're out there and they love what they're doing and they don't make a lot of money. And God bless them. I'll tell you, to be put in some of the situations that they're put in, and to be level headed and to keep their composure and keep their cool. Hats off to these guys. It's something that I would really, really struggle to do.
Yeah, since coming, I've been meeting with a lot of officers. I try to talk to each and as many as I could, right, to kind of find out what's going on. And I heard some pretty rough stories from these guys. I mean, they what they deal with sometimes on their day to day is I'm
sure we've all seen
at least as bad as living with my ex-wife. I mean, that's
I have been fortunate enough to go on several ride-alongs, both in Rush County and then in Hancock County. We stopped this. We got a phone call, and this individual was stopped for erratic driving, and he was inebriated. We took him to the hospital, and he had his blood drawn, and they found out that he was in fact inebriated. And by the time we let him go in the jail, he was thanking the deputy for stopping him. I mean, I couldn't believe it. That's how well this deputy treated this young man.
Oh wow!
It was.
Well, and by that time, he's probably sobered up a little bit. And, hey, man, I could have killed myself, right? Like, I mean, or hurt somebody driving that drunk, right?
Yeah, he was very grateful. Yeah, thank you for changing my life.
Well, very good. Where are we at, Dakota?
All right. I have one more topic, and this is more for my curiosity. I live out in Spiceland, and it is a town in Henry County. We don't have a police department or anything there. However, we do have a member of the Henry County Sheriff's Department who patrols there at night and acts kind of like a town marshal, and it's his assigned location. Do you have any situations like that in Rush County?
Where you have guys moonlight in that situation, I guess? Is that what the question is?
Is he moonlighting or is he actually on duty as like that's just his turf?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just,
he's
that's
actually
just
on
his
duty.
beat, right? Yeah,
Right.
okay.
He's on duty there.
He's on duty for Spiceland. Spiceland
Okay.
would pay this individual directly, right?
So I don't know. That's my question.
Yeah, Spiceland would pay him.
In Rush County, there are 4 incorporated towns. You have Rushville, Carthage, Glenwood, and Milroy.
Milroy for 1,000, Alex.
Yeah. There are several unincorporated townships that the sheriff's department covers, and
Homer,
Milroy,
Manila, Arlington,
yes,
Mays.
Boy, you're good.
Man, I used to live there. I'm pretty good at this.
Carthage,
Raleigh,
and
I don't know
Glenwood
what you call
have marshals,
Right.
and they pretty much take care of themselves. It's not to say that if something happens that the Rush County deputies aren't going to be there giving assistance to both Carthage and Glenwood. So, they cover everything, but they don't have a specific, if you only got 2 deputies on the road, you're pretty much, you're going from town to town. You're looking at the major highways, there's,
Right.
Danny's in the background. They always found me.
There is a lot of cooperation between departments, like Mooresville Police Department and the Morgan County Police Department, Sheriff's Department. I mean, they're on the same dispatch frequency, I think, right? Like, I mean, it's super easy.
That must be nice. Dispatch frequencies matching up.
Well, I think
we have that issue here in Henry
I think
County.
Mooresville is one of the only ones that maintained our own dispatching center because they kind of consolidated a bunch of stuff in Mooresville recently and switched over to digital and all that junk, right? I mean, I don't know the history of it. I'm the new guy, but I know we coordinate with them constantly, right? We have a special investigations division where our detectives and Morgan County detectives, like when something happens, a few months ago, they found that body out by Waverly. They said Mooresville on the news. Been there for like a week because it fell down a ditch. Nobody saw it, right? It's on the side of the road and it had been dropped there. But like our detective, even though that's not necessarily in the town of Mooresville, he's part of the special task force. Our detective is a little bit involved in that, right? So it's a kind of a shared resource pool where if we need something from Morgan County or Morgan County needs something from us, it's very much a big teamwork kind of situation, at least in Morgan County. And I would assume the same in your county. So.
Yeah. And, in Henry County, we also have folks we have an interstate that runs through here. So we have folks that are involved with the PACE team as well, where they have a group that's basically monitoring interstate traffic, and they're tied in with, I think, Greenfield, Wayne County, maybe the city of Richmond, and the Henry County Sheriff's Department, and I think the city of Newcastle Police as well. They all have folks that are a part of that group, and they basically provide additional support on the interstate.
Right. So if you're running from the Mooresville police, do not head south because it's just going to take you into Morgan County. You got to go to Hendricks County.
You
go
got
west.
to go up to Plainfield and slip it. It'd be like the real boss hog stuff where you get to the county line.
That's right. You got to get to the county line. That's really what you want.
There is one day a week where the sheriff's department has, I don't want to say a multitude of deputies, but they have more deputies than on a normal day, and they do interdiction teams. And basically, they're out looking for the abnormal. They're not out to do traffic stops or do this or do that.
They're just looking for weird stuff.
They're just looking for weird stuff.
When did Dakota get that new RV, and why does it sit so high?
Extra.
And why is there green smoke coming out?
That's weird. It smells funny.
They're checking to see if a car's been parked there 32 days so that they can write that ticket. Get some extra county revenue.
It seems normal to me.
All right. Time for final thoughts. We're at that point in the evening. Producer Chris.
Sports update. The Cowboys are playing the Bears. The Cowboys are tromping down the field. I need Ezekiel Elliott to score the first touchdown for $74. So
sorry, I smacked you in the head with that pen a minute ago, but you and Danny over there were being a little loud.
Yeah, this is all for you, listener, listening tomorrow that probably already saw this on your Facebook page.
That watched Chase's Bears win their third in a row.
Exactly. No, I don't have anything really.
The most disappointing
Is this our sports part of the show, Guffey?
Yeah.
So Ron Rivera got fired. Is Jason Garrett going to get fired before the year's over?
Probably.
Oh, Carolina. That guy got tossed.
Let's be honest. The whole NFC East, and I'm a Redskins fan, is trash.
They are a dumpster fire.
Absolutely trash. But I'm just saying, we have gone 2-0 since I have gone to the game. Dan Snyder, hit me up.
I don't think your team's out of the playoffs yet.
No, if we win and everybody else loses, we are in the playoffs at 7-9.
If we win and everyone else loses.
So a 7-9 team has made the Super Bowl before. Do you remember this?
I do not.
The Arizona Cardinals, when they lost to Big Ben and the Steelers back in the day. That was Larry Fitzgerald and Kurt Warner and those guys. They were 7-9, and the NFC West was absolutely
Was it
terrible.
Warner at the time, or was it?
Just for context, when you say back in the day, what exactly do you mean?
2006.
Okay.
George Orlando.
I'm not.
Okay.
What year was it, Dan?
Like 10 years ago.
I don't know. 07, 09. I don't know what year that was. That era, that time.
It was in this century, though. We're sure of that. Okay.
It was in this millennium. Yeah. It was post 2000 Ravens. It was this side of the world.
I swear to God.
Millennials, man.
I know, right?
Yeah. All right, Dad. You got any old Johnny Unitas and 1959 Colts stuff to tell me about?
No, George Belanda was always my hero. I wanted to see George get in. Yeah, Georgie. So, no, the only thing I want to talk about is I got hearing aids this week.
Which I am also very excited about.
Yeah, no, these things are incredible. It's almost like I'm hearing voices in my head.
Oh, I love it when that happens. They have the best ideas.
5 conversations going on at once. I've got one coming out of the headphones here. Now my phone is ringing. Thank you, Danny.
I can hear it.
That's my ears.
Yeah.
My ears are ringing. I'm not answering.
You can hear the dog breathe now. I'm sure there's probably all kinds of crap that's happening now.
It's something. So anyway,
but now you've got the flexibility. You can just turn them off.
Exactly. I got to take them out of my head.
Yeah. After 6 o'clock, you can turn them off, and you don't have to hear Mom again until tomorrow.
Yeah. So you guys, you guys have done this podcast since the days of the pool parties, and it's been almost 2 years. And this is the first time I've been on your podcast. So I feel it's my Christmas present. So thank you.
If it makes you feel any better, my dad hasn't been on either.
Yeah, you made it on before Jeff.
Yeah, how about that, right?
I don't even know if he's
It's my first time on as well. So
yeah.
It's been our pleasure.
But I fed this guy.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised.
I have a lot. I have a lot.
How many vacations did you miss?
I have a major investment in it. So no, thank you. It's been a fun afternoon.
All right, Mr. Lundy.
It could be anything, right?
Yeah, anything you want.
So
you can complain to me more about me stealing my wife away from your town.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, there we
go. So the LPIN holiday party is this weekend.
Yes,
where they will announce the winners of a contest.
This is the
you guys remember
community growth contest, right?
Well, it was the membership contest, right? Who could get the most national? I expect to hear good news for Morgan County at this holiday party.
That's awesome. You've been stuffing the ballot box?
Absolutely. We cheated as best we could. Since you're going to come steal our people, we figured we needed twice as many because Henry County is just going to take at least a third.
I don't know. I saw Shane Limler in Knox County really added some numbers.
Freaking Knox County.
Bane of your existence. I'm sure you'll be on the podium.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes, but I expect good news. That's all I'm going to say.
Very cool.
My final thoughts are Newcastle is not stellar.
Yeah, Marshall County got us, man.
Right.
Thanks
for stealing my thunder, Jeremiah. Appreciate it.
That's it. Yeah.
What happened?
The Stellar Grant, Okra. We were Henry County was one of the finalists. We were the safe and welcome. That was our region, and
was it this show that kind of tipped the scale for the other guys? Like, well, not safe and welcome anymore.
Yeah, they watched that. And I have. Is it every year? Do they do this grant every year?
I think so.
It has Rushville's won, North Vernon's won in the past, Madison has won. I don't know that it was guaranteed to continue on, but in the press release that came out today, it said that there would be more information in January for the 2020 cycle. So it will continue at least another year. But basically what happens is the federal government gives money to the state, who then gets to play kingmaker for the local communities. And it was a 20.
The federal government takes money from the people.
Yes.
Gives it back to the state, pretends it's a gift.
We steal money from you, and then we
take our cut and we give it back to you.
The state takes their cut, and then everybody kisses the ring, and then it's like a lottery, essentially.
If it pleases the crown, may we have our money back?
And
they make us compete for it, so it's even worse. It's like the Hunger Games.
Oh yeah, here's a knife. Go.
So there were 4 communities that were up for it. Henry County. It was actually not just a town or a city this time. It was an area of interest.
A region.
So
an area of interest.
The town of...
Is it like a person of interest?
The town of Knightstown, the city of Newcastle, and all of Henry County.
Okay.
Those 3 political
boundaries,
organizations were co-applicants. In a bunch of small towns in Marshall County, and Marshall County actually wound up winning.
Okay.
So they will get.
Do you have any details on what they did to beat you? Like, are you gearing up for 2020? Are you ready to beat them next time?
Sure, there will be reasoning.
Okay.
It was a big deal just to become a finalist. I think that they won or were awarded.
Well, I mean, we clearly weren't in it.
Over $300,000 for their participation.
Okay.
I want to say publicly on the show that in 2020, if we get to the place where we were this year, and we needed a lot of the design work and video making and all that stuff to happen, I would like to be involved in that process, and I want to volunteer for it.
There we go.
I know a lady that would gladly take your services.
And I know who you're talking about.
I'll hook you up.
All right. Well, very good.
Don't hook me up yet. I said if we get to this place again.
A couple other things for me here, real quick, and final thoughts.
I just won $70 because Ezekiel scored the first touchdown.
Did your boy do it?
He did it, boys.
How much was the bet?
$12. I started out with
$12 on him.
I was rich, brother.
Oh my
man! I got a 70. Give me that money.
Look at you. You have to pay taxes on that.
No, I don't. It's a gift to myself.
I got me this for Christmas.
Guffey's going to prison. Gambling.
Can we make T-shirts that say that? Guffey for jail or Guffey for prison?
Guffey for prison. Yes. Next Thursday you'll be 150 feet away from us in the county jail instead of
Guffey for impeachment.
Guffey for impeachment.
All right.
You have to elect me to impeach me. Just remember that.
I had to battle traffic to get to our studio tonight. Massive kudos to the Newcastle. Is it Newcastle Downtown that put this on?
No, this is the Chambers.
The Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
So your boy Sean.
My boy Sean Defoe.
We had legitimate traffic. I came down Main Street today. I had to wait like 3 light cycles to turn onto Indiana Avenue to get to our studios. Broad Street is closed. Main Street is closed, and it was
Broad
happening.
Street's closed 11th through 15th.
Our studio sits at Race Street, and I don't know, it was 11th or something. But the traffic was literally backed up in front of our studio, and I was trying to get ready, and people were looking in the windows. Not a common problem for Newcastle, but it's awesome. Christmas walk was tonight, and that was very cool. Also want to give a plug for our friend Mike McCown, who has been a part of our Indy 500 preview. Mike is retiring from his photography studio. He shut it down, still continuing with other things in the community. But he's going to be at the Art Association this Thursday night, so a week from tonight, from 6 to 9. He's counter-programming the show, which is just rude and incredibly disruptive of Mike, but it is what it is. So go down there if you want to catch us on the replay. December 12th, downtown Newcastle, Art Association, 218 South 15th Street. Mike has taken all kinds of photos at the Indy 500, taking sports photos. If you're in the community, he's been a community photographer for ages. Probably 80% of you that live in Newcastle had him do your senior pictures.
I had Dave Nance.
You're in the 20%. So Danny says he didn't get any. So anyway, Mike's having a reception.
Oh, yes, you did.
Very cool.
Were they at Olin Mills?
Yeah,
Zach-
you had some senior pictures.
Zach Bertram is on the live stream, and he is reporting from the Newcastle Christmas Walk, and he said that it was a really neat experience. It was really cool.
Very cool. All right. We will be back a week from tonight. I'm getting on a plane and flying to Denver, Colorado. I'm going to check out the Coors Brewery and see some local stuff down in Denver. Never been. Be a first time in the Rocky Mountains. So I'm sure we'll have some interesting stuff to report. What's next week's show? Next week, we're going to talk about more downtown, right? Talking,
Mike Broyles.
Talking
Yeah,
Mike Broyles.
that's right. Mike Broyles.
And maybe another guest.
And yeah.
Still working it out. There's your preview. We'll see you all next week.
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians Network. I am Chris Spangle, and I am the founder of this network, and I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at WeAreLibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk, which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to WeAreLibertarians.com and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at WeAreLibertarians.com.